I took my niece in after her parents went to jail. I enrolled her in school, bought her clothes, spent my savings on therapy. One day, I found my credit card maxed out. She had given my info to a stranger online. When I confronted her, she said, "I didn't ask you to save me." Later that night, I found my bedroom torn apart, my safe broken open. What she took, and what she left behind, told me everything I needed to. When my sister and her husband were arrested, everything happened fast. I didn't even get a full story. Drugs, guns, something with stolen checks. I just knew they weren't getting out anytime soon. That night, I got a call from CPS asking if I could take in their daughter. My niece. I hadn't seen her in almost 2 years. I said yes. There wasn't a part of me that hesitated. I lived alone in a small 2-bedroom house in Reading, Pennsylvania. I worked as a medical receptionist, nothing fancy but steady. I had a guest room that was half storage and half, maybe someday plans. It became hers overnight. When I picked her up, she looked like she hadn't slept in days. 14 years old. Skinny. Hair pulled into a tight, greasy ponytail. One small bag with her. She didn't make eye contact when I hugged her. I told her she could stay as long as she needed, that it was okay to feel anything she was feeling. She nodded once and didn't speak the whole ride back. The first few days were silent. She stayed in her room mostly. I gave her space, but I made sure she knew I was around. I bought her clothes that actually fit her and let her pick out her own shampoo and toothpaste. That sounds small, but I remembered being a teenager. That stuff matters when everything else feels out of control. School was hard. She'd missed a lot. I had to talk to the guidance counselor, fill out a stack of paperwork, show I had temporary custody. She didn't have any friends. I offered to drive her to and from school myself at first, and she let me. There were good moments. Small things. She started watching TV with me at night. She liked crime documentaries, which I tried not to read into too much. I'd hear her laugh sometimes, when she thought I wasn't listening. She mentioned she liked to draw. I got her sketchbooks, pencils, markers. I came home one day and saw her sketch taped to the fridge, her first drawing since she moved in. It was of a bird in a cage. I didn't say anything, just kept making dinner. I paid for therapy out of my own pocket. My insurance wouldn't cover it, but I didn't care. She needed to talk to someone. I went through most of my savings. She only went to a few sessions before she said she didn't want to go anymore. I didn't force her. Then things started to shift. I noticed her mood was sharper. She snapped when I asked small things like if she'd eaten or done homework. She locked her door more. I chalked it up to trauma, hormones, whatever. I kept trying. Then came the credit card charges. I was checking my account like I do every week. I saw a $279 charge to some online gaming site. Then another. And another. Over $7,000 in total. Racked up over a week. Maxed out. I froze. At first, I thought maybe I'd been hacked. I called the company. They went through the purchases with me. Most were for game credits, app store charges, weird little purchases. A few food deliveries to addresses I didn't recognize. I sat down across from her after school. Quietly, I showed her the account. I didn't yell, just asked if she knew anything about it. She didn't even blink. She said, "I gave it to someone online." I was stunned. I asked who. She shrugged. I asked why. She looked at me, eyes dead flat, and said, "I didn't ask you to save me." That sentence hit me like someone punched me in the chest. She got up and walked out of the room. Didn't even wait for a response. I felt like I was losing my mind. I called the bank, filed a fraud report, froze my accounts. But the thing that kept echoing was what she said. That night, I couldn't sleep. I was scared. I know that sounds dumb. She's a teenager, but something had shifted. I got up around 2 a.m. to get some water. My bedroom door was cracked open. I never leave it open. I turned on the light. Everything was torn apart. Drawers dumped. Closet wide open. My safe, small, hidden under a loose floorboard in my closet, was pried open with something. Inside it, I'd kept my birth certificate, passport, spare keys, some old jewelry from our mom. $800 in cash. All gone. I just stood there shaking. But it wasn't until I saw what she left that everything hit me. On my bed was a sketchbook. Not one of the ones I bought her. This one was old. Worn. Pages wrinkled and stained. I opened it. The first drawings were of me, sitting on the couch, washing dishes, reading. Then they changed. Drawings of me crying, me angry, me sleeping, with shadows drawn around my bed. Scribbles in the corners. Words like, not my mom and stop pretending and she thinks I'm hers. The last page was a full drawing of me, sleeping. She had drawn herself, too, in the doorway. But her face was smeared, half erased. Behind her was a black swirl, like a void. I sat down and couldn't move for a long time. She had taken everything valuable, but she had left the thing that hurt the most. I didn't go to work the next day. I told my boss I had a family emergency, which wasn't a lie, but also didn't cover half of it. I spent the morning locking everything down, changed every password, called my bank again, canceled all my cards, even put a fraud alert on my credit report. It felt like digging through rubble after a tornado. Useless, but necessary. I texted her. Just asked if she was okay. She didn't respond. Around 2 p.m., I called the police. I didn't want to. That's the truth. But I didn't know what else to do. She had my birth certificate, my ID info, my cash. She was a minor, sure, but she had stolen from me, lied, disappeared. They told me I could file a report, but since I was her guardian and she was technically still a runaway, I'd have to start with juvenile services. It was a whole process. That night, I was sitting in the kitchen staring at her sketchbook again when I heard a knock. It was my neighbor, Jim. He's in his 60s, quiet guy, keeps to himself. He said, I saw your niece last night, around midnight. She was getting into a car down the street. Some older guy. My stomach dropped. I asked what kind of car. He said he didn't know the make, but it was black, beat up, with one headlight out. He assumed it was a friend or maybe a relative. He didn't think much of it until he saw my porch light on all night and figured something was wrong. I thanked him. Tried not to panic. I didn't sleep again. Over the next few days, I checked in with her school, her old therapist, even her old friends online. Nothing. Her social media accounts had been wiped, completely gone. Like she'd erased herself. A week later, I got an email. No subject line. No greeting. Just one sentence. I didn't take the ring. I knew exactly what it meant. The ring, our mother's wedding ring, was in the safe. Or had been. I hadn't even thought to look for it specifically, but after I read the email, I checked. It was still there. One tiny thing she could have pawned. But she didn't. I sat with that for a long time. Why leave it? What did it mean? Was it guilt? A message? I emailed back. Just said, "Where are you?" No reply. 2 days later, I got a call from a number I didn't know. A woman's voice on the other end said she worked at a drop-in center in Harrisburg. My niece had come in asking about shelter beds. She didn't give them her real name, but they took her photo for internal records. Someone on staff recognized her from a missing person flyer I'd sent around. They said she left before they could get her to stay. Said she looked tired, thin, unwell. The woman asked if I wanted to file a pickup order. Have her brought home. I told her I needed to think about it. And I did. For a long time. I thought about the way she used to sit quietly and watch me make dinner. The way she laughed once when a stupid commercial came on. The way she cried the first night I held her and told her it was okay to be scared. And then I thought about the way she looked at me that day at the table, cold, distant, and said she didn't ask me to save her. That wasn't just a reaction. That was the truth, to her. She didn't want saving. She wanted out. 2 weeks went by with nothing. No more emails. No calls. No sightings. I kept waiting for something, a charge on one of my accounts, a message from the shelter, a knock on the door. Anything. Then one morning I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just my name in shaky handwriting. Inside was a folded piece of paper and a receipt. The receipt was for a pawn shop in Allentown. Date: 3 days ago. It listed silver necklace, small, 2 bracelets, and a gold watch, items from the safe. Things that had belonged to my mom. Worthless to anyone else, really. Maybe $200 total. The note said, "I only sold what didn't feel like yours." That sentence messed me up more than I expected. I drove to the pawn shop that afternoon. I showed them the receipt and told them I believed the items were stolen. They asked for ID and took a copy of my report number. The guy behind the counter looked at the paper, looked at me, and said, "She seemed like she didn't want to be here. Looked real nervous." I asked if she was alone. He said no. She was with some guy. Older. Beard. Had this weird energy, like controlling. He did most of the talking. I asked if they had a security camera. They did. But I needed a police request to get footage. Back at home, I pulled the sketchbook out again. Flipped through every page like I was looking for clues I'd missed. On the inside of the back cover, almost hidden in the crease, was a name. Asher. All caps. No context. No last name. I searched everything, Facebook, Instagram, even sketchy people finder sites. Nothing helpful. It wasn't much to go on. But something about it sat wrong. That night, I finally did what I'd been avoiding. I went into her room. I hadn't touched it since she left. The door had stayed shut, like a line I didn't want to cross. But now I had to know what I'd missed. There was trash in the drawers. Crumpled drawings I'd never seen, some of them disturbing. People with no faces. Chains. Cages. I found receipts for fast food I hadn't bought and little scraps of notebook paper with writing that looked like someone else's. Your mind now written over and over. No one cares like I do. One page had my name with an X through it. In her closet behind some clothes, I found a small shoebox. Inside, a prepaid phone. Dead but still there. I charged it. When it turned on, I scrolled through the texts. Most were deleted, but not all. One thread stood out. No contact name, just a number. The messages were sickening. Him. You don't owe her anything. She wants to trap you. Her. She bought me clothes. Therapy. I didn't ask for that. Him. You don't need her. I'll take care of you. You're better off. Her. I feel bad. Him. Don't. She just wants control. Then this. Her. I think she suspects. Him. Then you have to act first. There were photos too. One of my house. One of me, taken from a crack in a doorway, probably my bedroom. One of the safe. She had sent it to him. My stomach turned. This wasn't just some teenager being reckless. This was something else. Someone had coached her. Someone had fed her this version of the truth, twisted everything I did into control, manipulation. She wasn't just running away. She was being pulled. Finally, you are writing the final paragraph of a personal, emotional storytelling video. The story has already revealed a betrayal, secret, shocking realization, or regret. Now, write a suitable ending in simple, human language. The ending should not wrap everything up neatly. Instead, it should feel unresolved, haunting, or quietly powerful. Make the final sentence stick in the viewer's mind. It should feel like something a real person would say to themselves when no one's listening. Avoid dramatic exaggeration. No fantasy. No poetic metaphors. Just real emotion.